One day, Zenitsu received news that changed his life. Whilst he would previously do anything to ensure that he'd never have to take part in the Hashira training, opting to always try and take the easy way out of everything, the news that his senior student Kaigaku had become a demon gave birth to an entirely new Zenitsu. This betrayal was too much even for their old sensei, the former Thunder Hashira Jigoro, and so he committed seppuku out of embarrassment. Tanjiro approached Zenitsu, talking about how he was ready to move on to his next phase of Hashira training when he noticed something wasn't quite right. Zenitsu wasn't talking much. The young man simply congratulated Tanjiro and explained that he had achieved clarity about what he absolutely must do. Sometime later, after being thrust into the Infinity Castle following the ambush on Muzan, Zenitsu found himself in the presence of the now upper rank 6 demon Kaigaku. Rather than feeling fear though, Zenitsu had been overcome with a sense of responsibility. He called for Kaigaku to come out as he knew he was there, to which the demon claimed was no way for Zenitsu to talk to his senior. However, the demon slayer no longer recognized him as such following his betrayal. Kaigaku attempts to provoke Zenitsu, claiming that he hasn't changed at all and that he's still a weak, shabby little runt. He asks if he's managed to learn more than one form yet, and even wonders if he's reached the rank of Thunder Hashira. However, Zenitsu, refusing to be led astray by his anger, simply reminded Kaigaku that his confidence was misplaced, as he only managed to reach the lowest position of the upper ranks through the convenience of filling in a blank space. Kaigaku, amused by the unexpectedness of such a comment, began to laugh. Zenitsu though yelled over him, demanding to know why someone so talented and thunder-breathing as him would turn evil, and that because of his selfish actions, their master killed himself. What made it worse is that there was nobody there to chop off their master's head during the act of seppuku, meaning Jigoro died a sad, slow, painful death all alone because of his own perceived failure as a sensei. However, Kaigaku didn't even bat an eyelid. He had no interest in such news, maniacally shouting about how he didn't care for his death as he only cares for those who value his true worth, stating,
"In fact, I'm actually relieved the old fart died a painful death. I tried so hard to impress him. He's a shitty old fart who spouted crap about working together with dirt like you to share the title of successor."
Suddenly, Zenitsu had snapped. "If I'm dirt, then you're garbage. I can only use the first form, and you can use them all but that one." Gramps died a horrible death because he wasn't lucky enough to have a proper successor with us. Because of his rage, Zenitsu had evolved into something completely new. In an instant, this trembling infant had grown into a brave man, eager to fight for his sensei's honor. Kaigaku made the first move, using the fourth form of thunder breathing, Distant Thunder. Zenitsu though paid little attention to the black flash of lightning hurtling towards him, and instead chose to focus on his own actions. When Zenitsu turned around to tease the upper rank 6 for being too slow, Kaigaku's neck had already begun to bleed. Round 1 was firmly won by the Demon Slayer. It was in that moment Kaigaku recalled his final moments as a human, with the menacing figure of the upper rank 1 Kokoshibo towering above him. Kaigaku had tried fighting him but failed miserably. In a desperate attempt to cling on to life, he kneeled before Kokoshibo. He believed that no matter how bad his life got, as long as he was still alive, he would one day be able to prove his worth to those around him. And so he consumed Kokoshibo's blood, which contained a high concentration of Muzan's cells, thus turning Kaigaku into a powerful demon capable of using breathing styles, automatically making him a rare breed. But in doing so, his cells screamed out in fear. However, compared to that day, Zenitsu was nothing to him. He knew he was just a piece of dirt that bawls his eye out with no pride or guts. And so as he prepares for his next attack, he cries out that Zenitsu and the old man are no exception to the rule that everyone must die eventually, seemingly contradicting what he believed as a human. He charges forward with 5 consecutive strikes, but Zenitsu manages to avoid any fatal damage. He questions the demon. "Can you no longer tell what is right and wrong?" Kaigaku Kaigaku insists that he does, as he attacks again, repeating the notion that those who respect him are right and those who don't are wrong. Suddenly, Zenitsu's flesh starts to burn and crack as a result of Kaigaku's blood demon reinforced breathing style, who had started to grow in confidence that he would surely win the fight. Because unlike Zenitsu, Kaigaku claimed that he was special. All of a sudden, things began to look really bad for Zenitsu, as he is hit once more, this time being slashed all over as blood continues to spew from his body. Suddenly, an old memory resurfaces as Zenitsu begins to fall through the Infinity Castle. It's one of his old sensei Jigoro scolding him, asking Zenitsu to be more like Kaigaku and to learn from him. He then recalls a time during his early days as a demon slayer where he overheard two others badmouthing his senior. They belittled Kaigaku's ability, who would constantly act high and mighty despite not being able to use the most basic form of thunder breathing, stating that he would never be able to reach the rank of Hashira and would simply die in battle one day. Zenitsu couldn't stand the way they talked about Kaigaku, and so he beat them both up despite being a higher rank than him. Unfortunately though, the news that Zenitsu was causing trouble with his seniors reached Kaigaku, who didn't realize it was to fight in his honor. Thus, he talked down on the young demon slayer, claiming that his entire existence was a complete embarrassment. However, Zenitsu understood his hatred, as he too felt the same way, even if he was trying to stick up for him. But in spite of that, from the bottom of his heart, he respected Kaigaku's work ethic, as Zenitsu would constantly be watching from behind. He meant as much to him as old man Jigoro did, and for that reason, he was special. They were more than just sibling pupils. They were like real brothers. However, this wasn't enough for Kaigaku, who just couldn't find happiness in anything. With each passing day, he kept growing more and more dissatisfied until eventually all happiness had been drained from his heart. It was here that Zenitsu realized what must be done, as he apologized to the old man, as this is where their paths would diverge. Suddenly, Zenitsu stabilized himself, firmly planting his feet on the walls of the castle to stop his fall, with a burning passion visible in his eyes as he said sorry to his brother for what he was about to do. In a shocking turn of events, Zenitsu unlocked a brand new power, the secret 7th form of thunder breathing, Flaming Thunder God. He charges forward at breakneck speed with a dragon-shaped thunderbolt trailing behind him as he lets fly with a single slice through the upper rank's neck. Kaigaku was instantly beheaded, with his necklace also breaking. As he fell through the Infinity Castle, he wondered in disbelief how Zenitsu had managed to pull off such a feat without his knowledge. He'd just witnessed a form of thunder breathing he'd never seen before, and it left him stunned. Kaigaku exploded with fury, insisting that he was correct about old man Jigoro picking a favorite student, as he must have secretly hidden that technique from him. Zenitsu, however, revealed that he was incorrect, as he fell through the castle with no sign of emotion behind his eyes. This was a form Zenitsu had created by himself, which he one day wished to use alongside his brother in battle. As one would expect though, Kaigaku couldn't believe it. He erupted with jealousy that a piece of dirt as worthless as Zenitsu, who could only use a single form of thunder breathing, was capable of creating a new technique. The hot-headed demon was furious at the thought that he'd actually lost to him of all people, but that's when he realized he hadn't lost. Zenitsu too was falling to his death, and did not have the stamina left to save himself like he did last time, and so at the very least the two would die together, or that's what he hoped would happen. Yushiro, the demon friend and assistant of Lady Tamayo, suddenly appeared, scolding Kaigaku for his self-centered, selfish perspective on life and how it's pathetic that he is dying alone, as Yushiro leaps in to save Zenitsu from his fall. At this point though, Zenitsu had succumbed to his injuries and passed out. In the spiritual world, he met with Jigoro, where he apologized for not being able to get on well with Kaigaku and for not replying back to a letter he had sent to him prior to his death. With sorrow and despair overflowing within Zenitsu, he began to tear up, screaming about how if he was never around, then Kaigaku may have never ended up the way he did. He continued to beg for forgiveness from his sensei, stating that he just wanted to reach the rank of Hashira whilst he was still alive. He frantically apologized over and over again, demanding a response from Jigoro. "Do you hate me now? Answer me, Gramps!" lamps, Zenitsu's feet began to get tangled amongst a field of red spider lilies beneath him, a plant that represented the cycle of death and rebirth known as the Flower of Farewells. As he looked up again from below, he was met with the gaze of the old man, crying tears of happiness as he told Zenitsu that he was his pride and joy. Hearing such heartwarming words gave Zenitsu life again as he opened his eyes whilst being treated by a team of medics. He was still too weak to move though, laying still, reminiscing about his past. Meanwhile, Yushiro helped treat Zenitsu as the remains of Kaigaku's blood demon art was still a risk to his life, as the cracks could very well soon destroy his eyes. Thanks to an invention by Tamayo though, he would be alright, as this medicine halted the progression of blood demon arts. However, Zenitsu should count himself lucky, as the reason he won was due to Kaigaku's own inexperience using his abilities. Had they fought just a year later, Zenitsu would have been sure to die. With low-ranking demons approaching their position, Yushiro took the young demon slayer and put him up against a wall, keeping him safe, which is when he realized that something catastrophic was about to occur. Tanjiro and Akiza were about to meet for their second time in what was certain to be a bloody battle. If you guys want a full video on that, then be sure to leave a like and ding that notification bell so you don't miss out. But in the meantime, check out this video where you can witness the heart-racing, heart-breaking war between Doma, Kanao, Shinobu and Inosuke.